Well, firstly, you're looking for obvious things, but things about accuracy. Is the name, is it right? Is it your company name? Is it your company address? Are the dates, do the dates of the contract coincide with what you think has been agreed? At the back of the contract, usually there's a schedule with the rate on. Is that what's been agreed? So it's fairly obvious standard stuff, but it is sometimes wrong. I've seen it wrong. I've seen it where they've given a contract as if it's to a temporary worker and there's no mention of the company, and so you need to have your wits about you. I suppose things that might be open to negotiation or that you should be aware of. One thing I'm thinking of is insurance. Somewhere in the contract there'll be a mention of what insurance you need to comply with the contract. So you need to look for that and make sure you've got that amount of insurance. So if it names a specific amount, say £100,000 of professional indemnity insurance, you need to make sure you've got that, or you're technically in breach of the contract. Often it just says adequate insurance, and then it's your guess what adequate is, I suppose. There's always a termination clause in a contract. You've got to make sure you're happy with that. It's often you'll find the agency that the client can get rid of you at the drop of a hat, whereas you've got to give them a month's notice or whatever. But you've got to be happy with it. There might not be room for negotiation, but it depends on how badly they need you, whether you can change that. I haven't really gone into I-35 here. You probably need to have a contract reviewed, perhaps with an accountant, to see where you stand around, where the contract stands around I-35, and where there's anything you can change. Things like control clauses, substitution clauses, an accountant or an advisor should be looking for and seeing if they are helpful. One area you can often change a contract is at the back of a contract often is a schedule, and that's the bit that's generally been individually written for you, and there's scope for changing that. One thing I would mention is that often it says description of services, and you want to make sure the description of services sounds like description of services such as provision of aircraft engineering services rather than aircraft engineer. You want it to sound like a type of business service rather than a job role, because in I-35 you're trying to look like you have a business to business relationship rather than employer-employee relationship. So that's worth looking out for. It's a common thing that needs changing, and it's also usually there's no argument about getting it changed.